Now I just want to take a moment to talk about leadership in the body of Christ. The reason for this is, I know among some circles who are focused in on discipleship, you can get the impression that they are anti-leadership, anti-authority, or organization like that. And I don't believe that that's an accurate expression or evaluation of their hearts, but we need to deal with it in that even within Grace Life, that question or that issue has come up a couple times. And so I want to kind of just firstly say that God has put leadership in the body of Christ for a purpose. And I find that a lot of people who are anti-leadership or anti there being leadership in a movement, in a church, in a service even, it's because they've been hurt by leadership. They've had bad experiences with leadership. And if you have had a bad experience with leadership and have had bad examples of leadership, I completely understand. And I just want to say, though, that don't let your bad experience with previous leadership or even current leadership to determine where you go from here. Okay? Look at the word and take a biblical approach to something as important as this. Because leadership is not there to suppress you. Leadership is not, the intention is not to curse you, is not to weigh you down, but God's intention for leadership is to bless you. So in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11, I want to read this. It says, He himself, speaking of Jesus, gave some to be apostles, and some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers, for the edifying or equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry. Okay, so for the equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry. So the purpose of leadership is not to just be the head honchos who get served, but leadership's purpose is to equip, which by definition is serving. Leadership's purpose is to serve the saints. And a saint is every believer in the body of Christ. So the leadership in the church, apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, and teacher, their role is to equip believers for the work of the ministry. The purpose of leadership is not to do the ministry. We kind of have this mentality that ministry is standing at, like what I'm doing now. And in a way, that is ministry. We think that ministry is standing up front at the pulpit and preaching. And in a way, that's ministry. But the biblical definition of ministry is discipleship. This is a form of discipleship. Standing at a pulpit is a form of discipleship. But we are all called to go and make disciples. We're just not all called to equip like this. We're not all called to stand at a pulpit and equip. But we're all called to relationship with people, to reach the lost, and to establish people in discipleship. And so the purpose of leadership is to equip believers to make disciples who make disciples. It says there, for the edifying of the body of Christ. When the believers are doing the work of the ministry, it builds up the body of Christ. Leadership's responsibility is to build up and serve the church so that the church would be strong, so that the church would be established, so that the church would be building itself, multiplying itself. Okay, we often think I'm paying the pastor, he must do the work. No. You're submitted to that leader to be equipped to go out and do the work. Okay? Till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, that we should no longer be children, tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, and in the cunning craftiness of deceit. And it goes on. The point that it's making is that leadership's responsibility and privilege and role and joy is to establish you so that you would be mature, so that you would be secure, so that you would be strong, so that you can be a blessing to the body of Christ and the world. Okay? That is the purpose of leadership in the body of Christ, the purpose of church leadership. Okay, it's not to lord over, like I said. It's not for to be dominated by or anything like that. It's to serve, to bless, and to build up. If we look at Jesus' example, he showed the full extent of his love. He showed servant leadership when he washed the disciples' feet. Okay, washing feet is that's a humbling thing, and Jesus shows that is leadership, being the servant of all. I've got a great teaching series on New Covenant leadership, and it explains the heart of New Covenant leadership, and it's available on my website, and you can use a code to get it for free. All the information will be in the comments section here. Please go and take it for free, listen to it, allow it to enrich you. I know it will be a blessing to you. But the point with all of that is that leadership is there to serve, to enrich the body of Christ. You know, I like what Peter writes in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 1. The elders who are among you I exhort. I am a fellow elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that is to be revealed. And he's giving a command, and he's saying, shepherd the flock of God which is among you. Serving as overseers. So in pastoring, in shepherding, you know, we're there to shepherd, feed the church of God, care for the church of God, look after the church of God, not compulsion, but willingly, because you want to, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly, not being lords over those entrusted to you, but an example to the flock. And that's what I wanted to point out, was that as leaders in the body of Christ, we're not there to lord over people. We're there to serve them. Okay? We're there to serve them. We're there to shepherd them to a place of wholeness. Shepherd them to a place of health where they can, sheep make sheep. It's very profound, I know. Sheep make sheep. Listen to this one. Shepherds don't make sheep. Sheep make sheep. Shepherds focus on the health of the sheep so that the sheep can make sheep. Pastors, leaders in the body of Christ, focus on the health of the saints so that the saints can go and do the work of the ministry in reaching the lost and making disciples of all nations. We need to change our perspective of ministry. We need to change our perspective of leadership, and we need to embrace what's biblical. You know, it's great to get a group going, but I would encourage you to, as you're doing discipleship, as you're reaching out to people, as you're multiplying groups, seek to be part of a bigger vision. If not Grace Life, then someone else. Seek to be part of something where you can plug in, where you can receive wisdom from leadership, and leadership can help you to succeed in what you're doing so that the body of Christ can be built up, strengthened, and advance in health. It's all about making disciples, and we're part of a bigger picture. Submitted to a leadership which is there to help us, equip us to be able to succeed in the call that we have.